Alrighty, folks, we got an article here for you today from Breitbart.com entitled Dennis Prager, "The Left Has Substituted Itself for God," essentially, in place of God, man in place of God. Dennis Prager, best-selling author, radio host, and founder of PragerU, told Breitbart News editor-in-chief Alex Marlow on Friday that the left has substituted itself for God. He went on to tell the Sirius XM Breitbart News daily host that America's growing secularization is a threat to the nation's central values. Boy, oh boy, isn't that something. If you get rid of God, then man essentially fills that void. So if morals aren't pertinent upon God, they're just pertinent upon man making them up. And then eventually just utter lawlessness and everyone doing right in their own eyes. Everyone too comfortable or too afraid to offend. So anything goes. It's just how things are broken down. There's a ton of stuff we could get into. It is not possible to build a great society on a secular foundation, declared Prager. Wow, that's going to trigger some folks. America was built on the Bible. This was the text. Abraham Lincoln kept it on his nightstand, and he didn't even go to church. Until the 20th century, it was the one common piece of writing for all Americans, whether they were Christian or not. This was the centerpiece. Now you have it where darn 1973, abortion legalized, and here we are 46 years later, and we got infanticide push post-birth, saying it's hunky-dory. And I think some sources on the New York law protection of abortion, some sources I had heard no limit of age on that, so that's kind of scary. That's just one element of many, you know. Prager added, if the world lived by the 10 Commandments, you wouldn't need locks on your doors. There would be no police force. The recipe for a good world is in the Bible. The 10 Commandments is a central piece of the central part of the Bible. And that's the reason I begin with Exodus. Ooh, you gotta start with Genesis. Genesis is foundational to the whole entire Bible, Prager. But that is a very, very nice point. 50, 100 years ago, seemed like we were in a better positioning morally, and things have really decayed. Folks didn't need locks. Folks left weaponry out in the open. Nobody was spooked. Nobody would do anything. Ice Cream Man wasn't a threat. Many great number of things. So, Genesis story of Adam and Eve eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge foreshadowed the modern era's moral crisis, assessed Prager. Prager explained, when the serpent tempts Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge, after all, God had only asked them to do one thing, not eat from this tree. Well, that's the one thing he said not to do, that they were to refrain from. That's not the only thing they were asked to do. So that's a bit of a odd wording there. He says, you'll eat from that and you'll be like God. You'll determine good and evil, it says. Know good and evil, and that is correct. That is what the Hebrew says, but it really means determine good and evil. Prager went on to say, that is exactly what has happened in the post-Judeo-Christian, specifically post-Christian West. The people have become gods. That's exactly what it is. The left has substituted itself for God. We determine what is right and wrong. Bingo. Bingo, bango, bongo. Ay, ay, ay. And probably a world of corruption and all that. And they're trying to get rid of God everywhere. You know. But yeah, and it just, anything starts to go. Pedophilia is being taught. California. And there's the sexualization of children. So things are really hurling in the wrong direction. You know, people mock and scoff, but give them 10 years and they might become a little bit more humbled and realize things, that they're toast and they need a hope, and that eternal life is offered to them and they can reject or accept. So anyhow, I think that's all I want to cover this one. So thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for more. Feel free to subscribe. I think Prager had a good point. He had a good point. A little odd on some of the wording, but a good point. So, they're cool.